This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we share a caregiver compilation. We've gathered caregiving insights from John Humphrey, Victoria Moran, Valerie Hollaender, Dr. Ivy Randle, and Nikki Juvan. All have shared their stories on this show. In today's episode, they reflect on how their perspectives on caregiving and life have evolved over the years. Tune in to discover powerful revelations and deep connections between caregiving and personal transformation. Thank you for joining us for our Caregiver Compilation.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, a moment to honor the wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope that resides in our hearts and in our lives. And we give thanks. Now, part 2 of our Caregiver Compilation.
When he had those 2 strokes, not only did his life change forever, mine did also. So it seems as though what was happening prior to that, what mattered prior to that, no longer mattered. We had something present, serious that we were facing, and we had to face it together. And so that's what we did. So everything else just was pushed to the background, and we had this situation that was in front of us, and we had to move fast and think fast. And so we did do that. We navigated through those, especially those initial moments. Oh my gosh. When something like that happens, you get to know who's who and what's what. And so he got to see who I was as a wife, and I got to see who he was as a husband. And I'm happy to say that I like what I saw. He immediately went into a mode where he was determined to get better. And I went into a mode that initially perhaps felt uncomfortable for him, but ultimately I was looking at the big picture, because I know that there are a lot of things that are, especially between a husband and wife team, there are a lot of expectations that people put on you that are not necessarily good for you and your spouse. And so the bottom line is that we had a business. I was still working full time in my career. We had ministry. We just had a plethora of responsibilities. And so I had to think fast, because literally I had to figure things out within 24-hour period. So we was moving and shaking, and we had to, I had to make some decisions, to have some tough conversations, and we got through them successfully. And then our relationship began to just take off and blossom in a new way, in a better way, from those points to today.
What's good for the brain? Reading's really good for the brain. And so I took mom to the library, and I figured out she was probably at a kindergarten level. She was mad at me for checking out kindergarten books. And I said, you'll get better and better. Don't worry about it. She said she was embarrassed. And I said, you've got bigger fish to fry than, and I literally said that in the library. I said, you've got bigger fish to fry than to be embarrassed right now. And she was like shocked, but she appreciated it. And we just started getting her books and books and books. And I made her talk all the time. So we kind of like made shift this therapy for her. And I'm not blaming anyone. I just don't think that the resources were in her town.
In hindsight, I wish I had known how difficult it was going to be. But I also knew that I was a strong person and I was going to get through it. I really was pretty calm when I was at the hospital, just absorbing everything that the doctors were telling me. But I also had this voice in the back of my mind. I can do this. I can handle anything. We can get through this. And we have. You know, it wasn't until I started reflecting back on the 4 years and I was thinking, gosh, I really feel good right now. You know, what happened? And then of course when I was trying to write my journey for you, I'm thinking, yeah, it was grief at first where I'm crying. And then this anxiety just overwhelmed me. I couldn't think, you know, the tears were kind of gone, but now it's just anxiety. And then finally, through all the help that I did have, you know, it took several years, you know, I just, well, this is my life and I'm making the best of it. Ron's making the best of it. We've met some good friends. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me that I'm content. Acceptance is a little different than content. I'm content with mine. I'm not just, well, this is the way it is. You know, I'm going to get up and get dressed, but I'm content with my life. I'm looking forward to whatever I'm going to do that day. Even if it's answering Ron's question about what we're having for dinner, you know, I'm content. I'm content with it. We're more like we used to be before stroke. You know, we can joke about the fact that he asked me 13 times what dinner. So we're having a sense of humor about everything. And we used to be like that, just real carefree with each other, joking with each other. And I think that we've gotten back to that through these difficult times where I thought, how am I going to do this? And Ron was upset with me because he felt like I was telling him what to do. Did you take your medication? Did you do this? Did you do that? You know, but we've gotten to the period where we're just relaxed with each other again. We can joke about it, you know, that, you know, he can't remember things and we joke about it. And I think that's what we've changed. We're more comfortable with each other after a period of just being, he's angry and I'm upset and stressed out. And we finally, I'll even get him about being angry. You know, what are you angry about? You know, come on. We got a good life. Be grateful for what you have, you know? Yeah.
I think everyone in my family has a really good sense of humor. We're not the kind of people, if we see somebody fall down, to laugh at them. Like, that's not funny to us. But somebody maybe dropping a meatball down the front of their shirt, you know, at a fancy restaurant, that might be hilarious, you know, and I'm probably going to be the person that does that. So for the humor, it was more about things are sad, but here's some moments, some gemstones that we can laugh about. And things are funny. Life is funny. Life can be sad and funny at the same time. Life can be frustrating and confusing and awesome all at the same time. So I think that's what we kind of took from being with Mom. And, you know, I'm really thankful that Mark and Monet hung out with us so much. I mean, getting a 15, 16, 17-year-old to hang out with you anyway is tough. So I have really beautiful memories of me and Mom and Monet and Mark just being a family. And it was really beautiful.
When I go to my community, I know my hands are lifted. I never have to, because I used to have, everywhere I go, we have to lift that scooter out, and the scooter was heavy. And that was before he has one that he can dismantle, but there was one that he had prior that was pretty heavy. So that wore me down. But when I go to my community, the men there are phenomenal. I never have to help them get it out. They come in there, take it out and help him and get him in and help whatever his needs are. He's taken care of. So it's almost like when I go to my community, I have this my off time. They take care of him so well. I had people who've gone through this kind of situation before, so they knew what it felt like, and they knew what I needed, and they knew how to just step in, whether come take me for a ride, come take me shopping, come on, it's the girls' day out. All of those things made up a village that supported us.
Many caregivers suffer guilt and don't feel they can leave the side of their loved one. I would like you to speak a little bit to how you were able to eventually begin the process of self-care, how you were able to develop the courage to leave Ron for a couple hours.
Having a cell phone, he knows how to get a hold of me, and I don't go too far. I'm usually, when I leave the house, I'm walking, I'm not driving. So I'm within close distance. That makes me feel better. And knowing that he knows how to call me if he needs anything helps. Now, I did go on one vacation, a delayed vacation because of COVID, to go to Hawaii with my sister. And my niece, when she found out that I was contemplating, she says, I'm coming out to stay with Ron. Again, it's COVID. She could work from home, so she could work from my home. So my niece came out and stayed with Ron, and I was able to go to Hawaii. And again, I talk to Ron every day. We got cell phones, obviously. Hawaii's not on the North Pole or anything, but so I had a great vacation, and knowing that Chelsea was there with Ron, and he had fun too. He had fun because he got to spend one-on-one time with our niece. And yes, people always do ask how I'm doing. Yeah. And I've learned, I tell them whether it's good or bad. Yeah.
Last summer, we went to stroke camp and met so many different caregivers. And think about Don, who's a caregiver to his wife, and he's always looking for resources and sending them to me. And I met a woman named Abby, who her husband has pretty extensive needs. And I mean, she's in there day after day. They took a trip to Thailand this past winter.
Whoa.
Yeah, incredible. But I've also met Ivy, who is so inspiring to me because I feel like we have similar journeys in that realization that I'm important in all of this. So I've been very fortunate to meet so many inspiring caregivers. We did have a couple caregivers that wrote their stories, and there's a man who's been the caregiver of his wife for, I think, over 15 years. And just the way that they're always looking for the next thing to do, to experience, whether it's they ride a tandem bike together or they do adaptive kayaking. He has started bringing her to do adaptive skiing, and they went out to like Utah this past winter. So just always looking for things to do. And so I find that very inspiring that even after all these years later, he's still going at it and trying to make it the best life that they can possibly have.
Yeah.
these organizations are out there, but people may not know about them. We have this incredible adaptive kayaking program that Trent and I have been part of for the last 5 years. And I wouldn't have known to look for it, but it was through our support group that we learned about it. And since then, I've told multiple people about it. That's why it was so important to us to tell the stories and also collect the resources, because there are things out there. It's just when you're in it day to day of taking care of your loved one, you don't have time to go on the internet and just be looking for things. So that was really one of the reasons why we wanted to do this.
Yeah. And when you say we, you're talking about Stroke Awareness Vermont that you and your daughter founded?
Yes. Yeah. So my daughter Hannah and I teamed up. She's more of the technical website developer kind of role. And so she and I, yes, teamed up to create Stroke Awareness Vermont. So we took the Stroke Stories booklet and made it into an electronic version that's on that website. We continue to gather more stories, the information about stroke and the signs of a stroke, and then the resources that are always being added to as I find things. I'm still figuring it out. I think I will forever be trying to figure it all out. I hope that above all, that I can help others. So maybe it's a little bit easier for them than it was for us.
I realized that you could start to build a future, and in 5 minutes, that all falls down again. And so instead of trying to make a future with pen, you start making with pencil, and then you realize you have to erase that. And eventually you realize, focus on the moment that's in front of you. The future hasn't happened yet, and whatever will happen, will happen. And in something like this, the severity of the stroke forces you to just say, you cannot rush anything. You cannot get anxious about anything. And I'll say probably the thing that tipped me off the most was the neurologists themselves didn't know. I could tell by being a pregnant woman at 43 with a basilar artery stroke was pushing the neurologists to the upper limits of their training. I could tell that. They never told me that, but I know that for a fact because they brought in teams of people who I never met working on her. And so I figured if they don't know what's going to happen at noon, I have no right to know either. So you settle into a much more, it sounds strange, but it becomes almost calm, that you go on this river of time that sometimes speeds up and sometimes it's slowed down, and you just can't put your oar in the water and try to make it go faster. It's just going to happen as it happens.
And so because he knows that I'm basically the sole person that can do for him and whatever, so now we really work as a team. We really work as a team. So when he knows, because he knows that I have to do so much, where he can chip in, he chips in. And so that is huge. That is so huge. And to see that he is thoughtful of me, like when he wants to do certain things, he'll think about whether I should do it or whether he should go. It's like all these pieces to care for me. Like, I know, babe, I know you've had to do this, so this is what we're going to do. Or I know, like, for example, washing. It takes me like 3 or 4 hours to wash our clothes. And he said, babe, don't worry about cooking anything because you've been washing all day. So it's just like, wow, those little bit of things means a lot. And it tells me that you care about me. You care about me also, just like I'm caring about you. So those are the ways that we have revamped, and like wanting to do things. Sometimes I have to lay over things, like I can't get all but I plan to do maybe in 1 day, maybe in 2 days, maybe in a week. But he has a level of sensitivity to understand, like, it's okay, babe, you'll get to it. And that means the world to me.
And I couldn't be the end all to all her activities. And so I knew that. And mom was social before. I wanted to keep her social. And so I just said, everyone's going through something embarrassing. Everyone is. And you're just going to have to get over yourself. This ego has to be put aside, and you just have to get better. And I think because I wasn't embarrassed, she wasn't embarrassed, because I wasn't embarrassed. My daughter wasn't embarrassed.
Mm.
And that was just, there was nothing to be embarrassed about.
Mhm.
And I think that's how we move forward that way, is just saying, this is life.
I think it came down to, again, having to surrender that feeling of control. Comes back to that surrendering. I was getting disappointed that my strategies weren't working for him. And so it was either continue on this particular road that we're on, where I'm trying to get him to do it and living with that disappointment when he doesn't want to do it or does it differently, or stepping back and just walking alongside him and supporting him in what he is doing at that moment. I didn't realize, of course, we are on this journey together, Trent and I, but we really are on our own separate paths as well. And I realized that they don't have to coincide and move at the same speed as each other. And I am not in charge of his recovery. He's not in charge of my recovery. We really have to do this for ourselves. When I came to that realization, it meant just letting him be the lead for his recovery and not necessarily making a chart for his exercises, but to let him initiate that on his own and be there to support him however he needs me to be. But I guess I'm not pushing as much as I used to. I've taken a step back to just be able to focus on me as well. So if that means I go to another room and I'm doing something else and he's in the other room doing whatever he needs to do, instead of me saying, okay, let's do your exercises now. It's a little bit of a lightening. You know, I'm not on top of him all the time for doing certain things. I think we're able to just enjoy the present moment, whatever that looks like. You know, if we're together in the same room or if I have to go off and do something different, it's taken that pressure off of me, that it's not my responsibility to make him better.
I really wish I would have told myself, or I could have told myself, hey, you're a really good mom. You got this. Like, you're going to be a really good caregiver. You're going to be a really good daughter. You're going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get frustrated. But when you look back, you're going to be okay.
Oh, it was just what I felt, First, I was crying all the time. Second, I was shaking. And that's when the medication helped. And then finally, I just said, this is dumb, I got to get on with my life, and I think that's the acceptance phase. Just recently, because of writing this essay, that I was really able to reflect and think, hey, I like my life. Ron likes his life. Yeah, it's different than we anticipated. Like I say, we don't travel much. We don't do the things that we thought we might do, but we're happy with our life.
Now we have to think about when we go out somewhere, be careful not to overload ourselves, because when we get out the car, we got to get into the house. So we have a wagon now, but we still have to make sure we don't overload, because he can't carry everything. He can carry, he's minimum what he can carry. Does that make sense? Because of his right side. So we have to think about things like that the average person, like, okay, I can grab these 10 bags and we're going to go in. No. And I said, babe, if you, and this is stuff that I can, as I think about it, I'm laughing now, but in the beginning, he probably was like, what? I was saying, if you can't carry it, don't bring it.
The symbolism there. Your talk is about caregiving and what you can carry.
Yes. Yes.
You can't load it all the way full.
Exactly.
You have to leave some space.
Exactly.
As we close today, we take a moment of pause, creating space for the wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope that our caregivers shared today. And we give thanks. Thank you for listening for part 2 of our Caregiver Compilation. For the full story, please listen to part 1 of the Caregiver Compilation. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. We hope these powerful caregiver revelations and insights have provided inspiration and understanding for your own journey. If interested in connecting with other caregivers, join us for our monthly Caregiver Care Partner Zooms or our virtual Caregiver Care Partner Retreat series that begins September 24th. For details, go to www.beyondstillness.org or click the link in this episode description. If this caregiver compilation resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.